Staying organized can feel impossible and overwhelming at times. Even when I get things organized into a system in my home, I often find myself searching through containers to remember where I put everything. In this tutorial, I will show you how to stay organized with printable labels. Using labels to organize your storage will save you loads of time. With one quick glance, labels will help you easily remember what is in any storage container, no matter what room in your home you are working in. Let's talk about the supplies you need for these printable labels. Now, I am going to be featuring a cutting machine in this tutorial, but there is no reason you can't still enjoy these, even if you do not have a cutting machine. You'll just need to do something very simple, like maybe get a circle punch, and you can punch these out for yourself using like a pressable punch from a craft store, or use a pair of scissors to cut them out with as well. The other supplies you're going to need is something like a printable vinyl or a sticker paper. So I am using this premium vinyl sticker paper here. It's by this Lexington brand, and they make it in glossy, matte, even holographic. It's really great on the quick dry for the ink. It's waterproof, so I really enjoy this brand. But you can also use Cricut's printable vinyl as well. I have used that many times also, and I've been very happy with it. Because we're using a Cricut machine, of course, we'll need to have a Cricut mat on hand to place our sticker paper onto. I like to also use a brayer tool to press the material to the mat, so you'll see me feature that. And then of course, you're gonna need to have a inkjet printer to print out your actual designs, okay? Again, if you're not going this route though, you could always just cut these by hand, but either way, you would still need to have a printer to print out these designs. Okay, my friends, so I'm just going to show you some of the basic need to know for Cricut Design Space setup. We're going to be using the print then cut process for this. Of course, if you're using a different cutting machine that also does a version of print then cut, you can just use these in your own software and still enjoy these labels. So we're going to need to upload these designs. So first, where do you find these designs? To access my storage label designs, you're going to go to members.abbikirstencollections.com, and you're going to look under the collections tab for storage labels. You can just type this in at the top of the search bar. It's also going to be linked below in the video description for your convenience. So our seasonal labels are 100% free for you to enjoy. And then for all of our beautiful A-Star members, you get unlimited access to all the other variations that we have. We have things for your garden, your craft room storage, for kids and kitchen storage, lots of different options. We have them in both colored and black and white. So if you prefer not to do color and you like simplicity in black and white, we have those variations. Once you download the files, you're going to put them wherever you want to store them on your computer. So you can download all the files here as a zip, or you can download them individually if you need that. You can even download them as PDF if you prefer to cut them by hand and you happen to be watching this and you don't own a cutting machine. As I mentioned a minute ago, we have both black and white and colored. And we also have blanks of each as well. So if you want to type out your own text in Design Space, which I'll show you in a minute, you can customize these further for your own particular storage needs. So let's come over to Design Space here. I already have a canvas open, and I'm going to visit the upload button in the design panel, which is on your far left-hand side. I'm going to click upload here, and then we're just going to drag and drop our PNG image right over here. And I'm going to click continue. There's nothing you're going to need to prep on this screen. Everything for the files is already prepped for you. I'm going to click apply and continue at the bottom. On this screen here, make sure you've selected flat graphic because we're doing the print and cut process. We don't want to have just a single layer that's the silhouette, and we're not trying to convert anything. You just want the original flat graphic, and hit continue. If you want to give it an alternate name, you can, or you can just click upload to finalize it and bring it into the Design Space canvas area. So it's important to note that a lot of times with PNG images, high quality images, they're going to come in very large. So you are going to need to adjust your scale. Obviously, we do not want a 28-inch label. I like to keep my labels between 3 and 4 inches. I find 3.5 is actually quite nice. So I'm just going to type in 3.5 right up here. The size where the width and the height are, you can type in exact dimensions. I'm working in inches. I'll click enter and it's going to adjust this down for me. And then you can pick which ones you want to use. But if you want to customize these further, you can upload our blank versions as well. And you can use the text tool to type out whatever you would like on there. So this label here is one of our spring patterns. So maybe I want to customize this to be something specific for my spring storage needs. Maybe I'll put spring floral on it. Perhaps I have a lot of spring floral items that I bring out certain times of the year, and I want a bin that reads that. So I'm gonna grab the text tool over here on the left-hand side and put your cursor in the box, double click. Let me move it up here for you. You're gonna double click to get the cursor in the box, and I'm just gonna do spring. I'm gonna hit enter to go to the next line, floral. If you want to change the font to be something similar to the other labels, select your text and then go up to the font menu. I'm using this hash brown font, and you can download this. I'm going to link it below for you, but that's the one I use. So if you're wanting to be kind of matching, then you'll want to download this and install it on your computer and then find it under the system fonts in Cricut Design Space. So there's that. Now there's a bit of awkward space here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to advanced with this selected, and I'm going to ungroup to lines. I'm going to just bring this a little bit closer because I would like it to be a little more stacked and not so much awkward space in between. I'm going to select both of those now. I'm also going to change this to a straight black. This is actually a very dark gray. So I want to hit that color swatch tool at the top, and I'm going to change this to a solid black. If you wanted to alter your colors more than what's presented here, just click advanced and you can put in any color of the rainbow you'd like there. I also need to adjust this size a bit. So with both of these selected, I'm going to come to any one of these corners, click, hold, and drag down. And then we can go ahead and kind of get it positioned in here. And if you want to poke around and find a little decorative icon like I have here, you can absolutely do that, or you can just keep it simple. Now, there's one final step you need to do. This bottom layer that we uploaded, look in your layers panel. It says print then cut, meaning this is ready for us to send to our inkjet printer, print out through our inkjet printer, load onto our Cricut cutting mat, and have Cricut cut around the design. But our text that we added, the word spring and floral, is a basic cut, meaning it's quite literally going to cut out the S and the P and the R and all of that. We need all of these layers to be one flattened result so that it all prints through our inkjet printer together. So in order to do that, we're going to use the flatten tool here in Design Space. I'm going to click and drag over all three of these. I've got the seasonal label I uploaded that is already a print and cut, and I've got the basic cut text that I just typed out selected, all three of them selected, and you'll see so in the layers panel over here. With those selected, click on the flatten tool at the bottom of the layers panel. When you do that, you have now successfully turned all three of those separate layers into one flattened result, which will print through your inkjet printer as one flattened result, and then Cricut will cut around the outside. If you were not to flatten these together, or you were to not have solid backing behind these letters, and you still had it read print then cut, it's actually still going to cut around the individual letters, and it will turn out a hot mess. So always make sure with print then cut that you flatten everything together and that you have a solid background. You'll need to do this for anything that you wish to customize, but otherwise you can just prep a bunch of these at the size that you prefer. And I like to kind of arrange them here so I have as much control as possible, because if we don't arrange them and then attach them to hold the placement, what's going to happen when we go to the cut screen is Cricut is going to do this. It's going to separate everything out into all these little choppy pieces when I could be a lot more efficient with my space, which is super crucial if you're wanting to save material and you're not wanting to run extra print through or just waste a bunch of this dead space over here. So what I like to do is I'll get these as close as I can. Make sure you leave a little gap. Don't butt them up right against the other ones. And then click and drag over all of these. In my case, it's 6 of them. And I'm going to use the attach tool at the bottom of the layers panel. And you're going to see that reflected here. Now, if you get an exclamation mark like this, it means the item is too big for the print and cut process. So in that event, what I like to do is I click on this little icon and I let it auto resize the image to its absolute maximum. And I see how much that's really adjusted it. So looking at this right now on my screen, it's about 6.7 inches by 10 inches high. I'm going to auto resize it, and it's saying the suggested maximum size here is 6.4 by 9.6. So in the grand scheme of things, if we divide that tiny bit of difference between all these labels, it's going to be only minorly adjusted. So I'm going to click I auto resize, and you can see that it changed slightly, but overall, if we detach this real quick, It started at a 3.5 by 3.5 inch label, so we lost 0.4 of an inch on each label. For me, in order to maximize my space and my material for print and cut, I am happy to downsize that extra little bit so that I can maximize my material. So I'm going to reattach that there. Make sure you save your project. That's always good to do. That way, if you need to print more, you don't have to do any of this setup again. You're just good to go for the next project. So I am using my Cricut Maker 3, but you can use the Cricut Maker, the Explore 3, any of the other Explore family, or the Cricut Joy Extra, or even the Venture. The only one you can't use for this process is the Cricut Joy because it does not perform the print and cut. The Cricut Joy Extra, however, does do print and cut. So I'm going to click on the Make button here, and we're going to get some previews. You can see now that all 6 of those are now on one dock, and we're really maximizing that space. I'm going to click Continue at the bottom down here to go to the cut screen and select my material. It's going to connect to your Cricut machine. So whether you're connected via Bluetooth and you already have that set up, or you need to plug into your Cricut machine with the USB, just make sure that you're connected to that. You want to hit Send to Printer. Make sure your printer is connected, so whatever model you might be using, it just needs to be an inkjet printer that can print these colors for you and can handle something like a printable vinyl or a sticker paper. Most printers can. There's very few that won't be able to handle something like a printable vinyl. It's not overly thick paper, so just be mindful of that. If you want to set any particular system settings for your printer, you do want to make sure system dialog is toggled on, because what this is going to do is it'll give you a secondary pop-up once you hit print so that you can actually set more specifications like where the paper is feeding from, the quality of the print, etc. So take note of that if that's you and you want to set that, and then refer to your printer manual and guide for those particular setup instructions and settings. It's also very important that you keep the add bleed on. So the add bleed adds a little bit of extra printed color all the way around the edges so that once cut out, it's edge to edge color and we don't have this awkward white border going around our pretty design. So in 99% of the cases, you do want to leave this add bleed alone, so just leave it ticked on as it is. You can go ahead and hit print when you're ready. Now, if you selected the system dialog option, you do want to make sure you minimize this to, usually you have to find it behind the behind Design Space, and then you'll see your particular printer settings here, whether it be what paper you're choosing, where it's feeding from, the quality of the print that you want to select. Everybody's print box is going to look a little different, but once you set those specifications, you can go ahead and hit print, and it's going to print it out. And I'm going to print mine now, and then I will see you at my Cricut machine so we can get these cut out. Okay, so here are some sheets that I already have printed off through my inkjet printer. We had to print through Design Space, super important if you're following me with a Cricut machine. Otherwise, you will not have these registration marks, which means your Cricut can't read where to cut on the paper, okay? So make sure you're using a Cricut machine, you print through Design Space so you have these black registration marks. I'm gonna go ahead and just line this up to the top corner of my mat. You can use the standard green mat. You can also use the light blue light grip mat. And then I'm going to use my brayer tool here just to press the material to the mat. It helps it get nice and flattened to help minimize any possibility of tearing or anything like that. Then I need to select my material in Design Space. Okay, so the next part you're going to need to do after you load your printable sticker paper or printable vinyl onto your Cricut mat, you do need to set your base material in Design Space. There's two that I recommend, and if you're not confident, then I do recommend doing a test cut where you don't have a full sheet happening. Maybe you just do like a simple circle in Design Space and do a simple test, cut to see how your particular sticker paper or vinyl is behaving with that particular setting. So there's two that I recommend. First is the printable vinyl setting. So you would click Browse All Material and just type in printable vinyl. You'll see it right here once you type that in. This one is great in most cases for a lot of sticker papers and also works well with Cricut's brand printable vinyl. What you do want to note with this is certain sticker brands. I use a Luxitin brand that I like, and with that one, I find that if I select the printable vinyl, I do need to, under pressure here, select less, because a lot of times it'll start cutting through the carrier sheet. Now, if you want it cutting through the carrier sheet, that's fine. But I like to where it's a kiss cut, to where it's lifting away from the liner, but the liner is still intact. Okay, that's how I like my labels to be. So if that's you, I recommend printable vinyl setting and then try it on less, and maybe perform a couple test cuts on a spare sheet before you start printing things out in ink. Another setting you can do is they do have a sticker paper setting also. So if you type in the word sticker, there is a sticker white paper here that I would recommend trying as well. As a whole, printable vinyl is the way that I tend to go. Now, if you're someone who wants to have your labels all separate, not still on the carrier sheet that you're peeling away from, but actually separated from one another in like a stack, then you're gonna wanna be able to cut through both the sticker paper or printable vinyl and the liner, which means you're probably going to want to select something like a medium cardstock setting so that it actually cuts through both of those layers. So now that that material has been set, I'm going to go ahead and press the mat under the rollers, press that double arrow flashing button to load our mat. It's going to take a second to just scan the length of our mat. Once Cricut scans the length of our mat, it's going to flash that play or Cricut C icon, which is the go button basically to proceed with the cut. So go ahead and press that, and Cricut is going to scan these registration marks first before it starts cutting, so it knows where to cut on the mat. So that's the importance of printing through Design Space when you're cutting on Cricut. All right, so our cut is done, and I'm gonna press that double arrow flashing button to release the mat. I like to flip my mat over in this case and peel the mat away from the material, just to help minimize the curling. And now we have our labels. Now this is an example of a kiss cut. So everything is still on the carrier sheet, but you'll be able to peel away the actual labels. So if I come in here, I can peel these away just like that. And now I can go and place these on my containers or anything that I want to organize and keep easily labeled so I can see it quickly and visually. So here's a look at how these labels turned out when I used a medium cardstock setting with this vinyl sticker paper. This allows me to actually cut through that liner. So if that's the approach you want to go for, then just make sure you adjust that setting. Now, if you're someone who does not have a Cricut machine, you can go ahead and just print these out via your printer and then use something like a circle punch to punch these out. So I have these set to 3 inches, and I'm using a 3-inch circle punch here, and I'm just lining it up, and then I press it down, and it still gives me that nice round clean edge, and I don't have to cut by hand with scissors and then end up with something that's less than an ideal cut. And they still work great for around the house, and all you need to do is run to your craft store and get a very simple craft punch. As I mentioned earlier, you can find all of these seasonal labels in colored, black and white, and also the blank versions to create your own text on the labels. That is going to be linked below this video description for you and in the corner of this video. Make sure you go and download them. They're completely free. Now, for all of our beautiful A-stars at Abbi Kirsten Collections, you get access to the rest of my storage labels. We have things for kids and for your garden and for your kitchen pantry and just your bathroom around the house. We have loads of them, again, all in colored, black and white options and blank versions, so you can add your own text. You can check that out below as well, and there's more information on becoming an A-star crafter if you are not one already. Okay, my beautiful friends, have so much fun organizing with these storage labels. Make sure you tag us on social media so I can see how yours turn out too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.